Hello everyone, welcome to the second video looking at the optimization of Zoom account settings. In the previous video, we looked at all of the different settings that we wanted to look at with regards to our meetings. But there's two other sections that we want to take a look at under our settings tab, one which is very important if we're planning on recording the meetings and making them available as a video on Brightspace after the session if there were students who were either unable to make the class or make the meeting, or those who got called away because of other circumstances and they were not able to attend the entire session. So in that settings tab, if you simply go and click on the recording tab, this opens up a wide range of additional options about your recording of the session. So this is where we've got a couple of different things here that are important to consider and that we want to do, particularly to honor the privacy of the attendees and that they make sure that they understand that the session is being recorded. Now, one of the ones that we have is under local recording. If you enable that, then that would allow the participants to be able to record the sessions themselves. As a safety measure, for the default, I would recommend that we turn that off to be able to manage that side. Now, this is because we've got automatic recording set, so that is an option that is going to be available. So if you turn off your automatic recording option, then that's going to give you the ability to manage local recording. So automatic recording is down here in the bottom, and depending upon the type of account you've got, a free account is going to be able to record only on the local computer. A paid account is going to be able to record into the cloud as well. By having automatic recordings turned on, it helps to make sure that you don't forget to activate the recording. But if we turn the automatic recordings off, then that allows us to turn off the ability for others to be able to record without our knowing that they're recording that session. So it puts you in control of that recording and gives you better security with regards to what you're doing. You can still record it from your perspective as the host of the meeting, but what it does is it prevents the attendees of the meeting from doing their own recording of that session, and you can provide the recording that you want them to have following the components. If you're doing a cloud recording option, if you've got a paid service, then that will give you access to the cloud recordings. One of the things that you can do with that aspect is you can either record the active speaker with a shared screen or have the gallery view with a shared screen. The gallery view can get quite cumbersome if you have a large number of attendees. So I like to have it focus on just the active speaker with the shared screen, but this option here is the one that I find is the most important. And that is recording the active speaker, the gallery view, and the shared screen separately. By having that one set, so you're recording it in that format, what that means is you're going to have different windows that you can choose which ones you're going to appear when somebody is accessing that content. Otherwise, depending upon how you've got things set up and formatted, your gallery view may be over top of the window. You may have the shared screen blocking some of the content of the active speaker. By recording them individually and recording them separately, then that's going to give you the ability to work with items in post-production. But if we click record the active speaker with the shared screen, then that's going to bring just the shared speaker. Whoever's the active speaker in the screen that's being shared is going to be the window. That can tend to be a good default if you're not looking at editing the video into post-production. You can also record an audio-only file and save chat messages from the meeting or webinar. Now, you'll remember that back in the meeting section, we removed the option for users to be able to access the recorded chat. This allows you as the host to have the chat recording, but not allow others to be able to obtain them as we go. The other part, when you're taking a look at some of your advanced cloud settings, you can have it so that it displays participants' names in the recording. Again, if you wanted to add an additional level of security, you could remove that. So there was no names that are going to be showing up in the recorded session. They would still show up in the live section, but not in the recorded section that comes into play. I always like to make sure that it's optimized for a third-party video editor. This takes a little bit longer to save the file, but it makes the file much more manageable if you want to be editing it or working on it in any tools in post-production to optimize the delivery from that side. I also like to save the panelist chat to the recording as well. So that gives us the ability to have that all saved, and we can then decide what are we going to get and when we look at it. You also have the ability to automatically go through, and one that here allows recording access only from specific IP addresses. That would only really be applicable if you knew the IP addresses of everyone that was going to be attending, such as internal within a work environment. You also can decide whether you want only authenticated users to see those cloud recordings or to delete them after a period of time, or the host can delete them. One of the ones that does come into play that is extremely important that we utilize if we have that available for ensuring that our attendees at the meeting know that the meeting is being recorded is by providing a recording disclaimer. If we activate that, then we can either ask participants for consent when a recording starts, or it asks the host to confirm before starting a recording. And so what this does is if you go to hit the recording button, it gives the host the chance to know that it was going to be recording, or ask the participants for consent. If you are only going to be recording a class that you would normally be delivering in a face-to-face environment, and that recorded video is only going to be housed within Brightspace, so that nobody other than the registered students in that class have access to it, there is no need to get additional permission to record that class, because it's not being, that information is not being portrayed outside of that enclosed class environment. The one thing that is important to do is to make sure that at the beginning of the meeting that you advise attendees that the meeting is being recorded and that it's going to be there, so that anybody who has a question or a comment that they prefer not to be on the recorded presentation is aware of this, and they can then choose to ask you that question off channel or off the meeting, so that the question and the answer are not contained within the recorded session. So those are a couple of the options that you have when you're looking at how you handle the recordings of your meetings that are taking place. Under the telephone tab, this is where you've got the ability to show international numbers links in your email, and you have the ability to allow people to integrate third-party audio integration. So this would be, as an example, if you wanted to turn that on and you had your own audio conferencing tool as opposed to the numbers that are connecting into Zoom, you could provide that specific information if you were going to allow them to dial in from within your own aspect. One of the other things that is important from a privacy perspective is making sure that you enable the masking of the phone number in the participant list. So to protect the privacy of those individuals who may be dialing in to a meeting, we can simply turn that on. And what that will do is, rather than showing the participant's full phone number in the feed, it will show an edited phone number that you have. Now, the only reason not to enable this is if you were trying to verify who people were on the basis of the phone number that was coming in. But again, if we've got the protections that we did in the meeting setup that we talked about in our previous video, then we shouldn't have anybody in the meeting that wasn't in our classes or in our meetings are approved. And by masking this, we provide them with that additional level of privacy to make sure that they know that their phone number will not be being displayed. This is also where we have the chance to edit to say which are the main countries we want to show the dial-ins for. So if you are dealing with an international audience and you wanted to put different dial-in options in, you would choose those particular countries where you might have students or participants attending. So these are the second two tabs under the Settings tab that we want to make sure that we use when we're optimizing our Zoom delivery. In the next videos, we're going to take a look at some of the functional aspects that can optimize what you're doing when you're working within Zoom and how you can change the features that we've set as defaults when we're actually delivering the presentations. If you have any questions, please reach out to me and let me know.